ever since I've known you. And howdy, everybody.
Love your enemies. Do good to those who persecute you. Amen.
All right, so welcome again to the word reading. Hey, I'm actually muted. Oh, we weren't worried about me muted. Okay. Anyways, today we have Dee reading, and Lynn, and Gwen, and Landon, and Colby and Ashley.
Colby and Ashley.
That today we are going to start off in Joshua 14 and 15, 16, closing it out with 17 and 18. I'm getting all kinds of notifications from somewhere. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and pray in, please. And good morning, Abba. Thank you very much, Heavenly Father, for this wonderful day of rest and fellowship, and to be together with you and your son, and your son with us too. We're very happy to have him here in our presence, and we just ask for your knowledge and understanding for the reading today, and let everybody share what it is that they're getting. Because not everybody gets the same thing, and it can help everybody. Or it may just help one person that really needs it. And we thank you for that. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let's get this party started. And we're going to start in Joshua 14.
And these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited, the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers and the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for the inheritance to them. By lot was their inheritance, as Yahuwah commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe. And Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and of a half tribe on the other side of the Jordan, but unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. For the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save the cities to dwell in, and their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance. As Yahuwah commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did, and they divided the land. Then the children of Judah came unto Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and to him, they knowest the thing that Yahuwah said unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me and thee in Kadesh Barnea. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed Yahuwah my Elohim. And Moses swore on that day, saying, surely the land whereon thy foot hath trodden shall be thine inheritance, and thy children forever, because thou hast wholly followed Yahuwah my Elohim. And now, behold, Yahuwah hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, even since Yahuwah spoke his word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. And yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now, for war both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, wherefore Yahuwah spake on that day. For thou heardest in that day how the Anakims were there, and the cities were great and fenced. If so be Yahuwah will be mine with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as Yahuwah said. And Joshua blessed him and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite unto this day, because he has wholly followed Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. In the name of Hebron before Kirjath Arba, which Arba was a great man among the Anakim, and the land had rest from war.
This was the lot of the tribe of the children of Judah by their families. Even to the border of Edom, the wilderness of Zin, southward was the uppermost part of the south coast. And their south border was from the shore of the Salt Sea, from the bay that looked southward. And it went out to the south side of Malakrabim and passed along to Zin and ascended up to the south side of Kadesh Barnea and passed along to Hezron and up to Adar and fetched a compass to Karka. From thence it passed toward Asmon and went out unto the river of Egypt. And the goings out of that coast were at the sea. This shall be your south coast. And the east border was the Salt Sea, even unto the end of Jordan. And their border on the north quarter was from the bay of the sea at the uttermost part of Jordan. And the border went up to Beth Hulgah and passed along by the north of Beth Rabbah, and the border went up to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben. And the border went up towards Debir from the valley of Achor, and so northward, looking towards Gilgal, that is before the going up of Adumim, which is on the south side of the river. And the border passed towards the water of Eneshmith, and the goings out thereof were at Engeral. And the border went up to the valley of the son of Hinnom, unto the south side of the Jebusite. The same is Jerusalem. And the border went up to the top of the mountain that lieth before the valley of Hinnom westward, which is at the end of the valley of the giants northward. And the border was drawn from the top of the hill unto the fountain of the water of Nephtoah, and went out to the city of Ephron. And the border was drawn to Bala, which is Kirjath Jearim. And the border compassed from Bala westward unto Mount Seir, and passed along the side of Mount Jearim, which is Chesalon on the north side, and went to Beth Shemesh, and passed on to Timnah. 11. And the border went out unto the side of Ekron northward, and the border was drawn to Shikron, and passed along to Mount Bala, and went unto Jabneel, and the goings out of the border were at the sea. And the west border was to the great sea, and the coast thereof. This is the coast of the children of Judah round about according to their families. And unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh he gave a part among the children of Judah according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron. And Caleb drove thence the 3 sons of Anak, Sheshai, and Ahiman, and Talmai, the children of Anak. And he went up thence to the inhabitants of Debir, and the name of Debir before was Kathjepher. And Caleb said, He that smitteth Kirjath-sepher and taketh it, to him will I give Adsah my daughter to wife. And Othniel the son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it, and he gave Ashsah to his daughter to wife. And it came to pass, as she came unto him, that she moved him to ask of her fathers a field, and she lighted off her ass, and Caleb said unto her, What wouldest thou? Who answered, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a southland. Give me also springs of water. And he gave her the upper springs and the nether springs. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. And the uppermost cities of the tribe of children of Judah, towards the coast of Edom, southward were Kabzeel and Edar and Jagur, and Kina and Dimona and Adada, and Kedesh and Hazor and Ithnan, Ziph and Telem and Bealoth and Hazor, Hadath, okay, that's not right, and Kerith and Hezron, which is Hazor, Amam and Shema and Molada and Harzgadah and Heshmon and Beth Pelet and Harashual and Beersheba and Beth Jothha, Bala and Eam Azam and Etulad and Chesil, and Hormah, and Ziklag, and Madmannah, and Sansannah, and Labath, and Shilhim, and Ain, and Rimmon. All the cities were 29 with their villages. And in the valley, Eshtaol, and Zeriah, and Ashna, and Zanoh, Iganim, Tapua, and Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Sokah, Azekah, and Sharim, and Adathaim, and Gerah, and Jedrothaim, 14 cities and their village. Senam, Hadashah, and Migdala, and Dilian, and Mizpeth, and Joktheel, Lachish, and Boktha, and Eglon, Kaban, and Lamam, Kithlish, and Gederoth, Bethdagon, and Nama, and Makkedah, 16 cities and their villages, Libnah, and Ether, and Ashan, and Jippa, and Ashnab, and Nezib, and Keilah, and Akzib, and Marashah, 9 cities with their village. Ekron and her towns and her village, from Ekron even unto the sea, all that lay near Ashdod and their villages, Ashdod with her towns and her villages, Gaza with her towns and villages, unto the river of Egypt and the great sea, and the border thereof. And in the mountains, Shamir, and Jatir, and Soko, and Dana, and Kirjathsannah, which is Debir, and Anab, and Eshtemoh, and Anan, and Goshen, and Holon, and Gilo, 11 cities with their villages. Arab, and Duma, and Ashin, and Janum, and Bathapua, and Elkanah, Humtah, and Jirjathbara, which is Hebron, and Zior, 9 cities with their villages. Maon, Carmel, and Ziph, and Juttah, and Jezreel, and Jokdeam, and Zanoah. Cain, Gilbeah, and Timnah, 10 cities with their villages. Hahul, Bethzor, and Gedor. Marath, Bethanoth, and Ekalton, 6 cities with their villages. Kirjathbaal, which is Kirjath-jearim, and Rabbah, 2 cities with their villages in the wilderness, Bethbarab, Middin, and Sekach, and Nishban, and the city of Salt, and Gedi, 6 cities with their villages. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwelt with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day.
Chapter 16. And the lot of the children of Joseph fell from the Jordan by the Jericho, unto the water of Jericho on the east, to the wilderness of Goth, up from Jericho throughout Mount Bethel, and goeth out from Bethel to Luz, and passes along unto the borders of Archi-Atzroth, and goeth down westward to the coast of Japhalti, unto the coast of Beth-horon, the nether, and to Gezer, and the goings out thereof at the sea. So the children of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim took their inheritance. And the border of the children of Ephraim, according to their families, was thus. Even the border of their inheritance on the east side was at Arothadar unto Beth-horon, the upper. And the border went out towards the sea to Mechmethah on the north side, and the border went out about eastward to Taneth Shalom, and passed by on the east side of Janohah. And it went down from Janohah to Atroth and to Nerath, and came to Jericho, and went out at Jordan. The border went out from Tapua westward unto the river of Kenah, and the goings out thereof were at the sea. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Ephraim by their families. And the separate cities for the children of Ephraim were among the inheritance of the children of Manasseh. All the cities with their villages. And they drave not out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but The Canaanites dwell among the Ephraimites until this day and serve under tribute.
Chapter 17. Then elopement was made to the people of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph. To Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, were allotted Gilead and Bashan, because he was a man of war. And elopements were made to the rest of the people of Manasseh by their clans: Abiezer, Helek, Azrael, or Azriel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemida. These were the male descendants of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, by their clans. Now Zelophehad, the son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, had no sons, but only daughters. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hagla, Milcah, and Tirzah. They approached Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the leaders and said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance along with our brothers. So according to the mouth of the Lord, he gave them an inheritance among the brothers of their fathers. Thus there fell to Manasseh 10 portions, besides the land of Gilead and Bashan, which is on the other side of the Jordan, because the daughters of Manasseh received an inheritance along with his sons. The land of Gilead was allotted to the rest of the people of Manasseh. The territory of Manasseh reached from Asher to Metheth, which is east of Shechem. Then the boundary goes along southward to the inhabitants of En Tappuah. The land of Tappuah belonged to Manasseh, but the town of Tappuah on the boundary of Manasseh belonged to the people of Ephraim. Then the boundary went down to the brook Kanah. These cities to the south of the brook among the cities of Manasseh belonged to Ephraim. Then the boundary of Manasseh goes on the north side of the brook and ends at the sea. The land to the south being Ephraim's, and that to the north being Manasseh's, with the sea forming its boundary. On the north, Asher is reached, and on the east, Issachar. Also in Issachar and in Asher, Manasseh had Beth Shan and its villages, and Ibleam and its villages, and the inhabitants of Dor and its villages, and the inhabitants of Endor and its villages, and the inhabitants of Tanakh and its villages, and the inhabitants of Medigo and its villages. The third is Nephath. Yet the people of Manasseh could not take possession of those cities, but the Canaanites persisted in dwelling in the land. Now when the people of Israel grew strong, they put the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not utterly drive them out. Then the people of Joseph spoke to Joshua, saying, "Why have you given me but one lot and one portion as an inheritance, although I am a numerous people? Since all along the Lord has blessed me." And Joshua said to them, "If you are a numerous people, go up by yourselves to the forest, and there clear ground for yourselves in the land of the Perizzites and the Rephaim, since the hill country of Ephraim is too narrow for you." The people of Joseph said, "The hill country is not enough for us. Yet all the Canaanites who dwell in the plain have chariots of iron, both those in Beth Shan and its villages, and those in the valley of Jezreel." Then Joshua said to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, "You are a numerous people and have great power. You shall not have one elopement only, but the hill country shall be yours. For though it is a forest, you shall clear it and possess it to its farthest borders. For you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have chariots and iron, and though they are strong."
Chapter 18. Then the whole congregation of the people of Israel assembled at Shiloh, and set up the tent of meeting there, and the land lay subdued before them. There remained among the people of Israel 7 tribes whose inheritance had not yet been apportioned. So Joshua said to the people of Israel, how long will you put off going in to take possession of your land, which the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you? Provide 3 men from each tribe, and I will send them out, that they may set out and go up and down the land. They shall write a description of it with a view of their inheritances, and then come to me. They shall divide it into 7 portions. Judah shall continue in his territory on the south, and the house of Joseph shall continue in their territory on the north. And you shall describe the land in 7 divisions, and bring the descriptions here to me. And I will cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. The Levites have no portion among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad and Reuben and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan eastward, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them. So the men rose and went, and Joshua charged those who went to write the description of the land, saying, Go up and down the land and write a description and return to me, and I will cast lots for you here before the Lord in Shiloh. So the men went and passed up and down in the land and wrote in a book a description of it by towns and 7 divisions. Then they came to Joshua to camp at Shiloh, and Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua apportioned the land to the people of Israel, to each his portion.
Okay, verse 11. And the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families, and the coast of their lot came forth between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph. And their border on the north side was from Jordan, and the border went up to the side of Jericho on the north side, and went up through the mountains westward. And the goings out thereof were at the wilderness of Beth-aven. And the border went over from thence toward Luz, to the side of Luz, which is Bethel, southward. And the border descended to Ataroth Adar, near the hill that lieth on the south side of the nether Beth Horon. And the border was drawn thence, and compassed the corner of the sea southward, and from the hill that lieth before Beth Horon southward. And the goings out thereof were at Kirjath Baal, which is Kirjath Jearim, a city of the children of Judah. This was the west quarter. And the south quarter was from this end of Kirjath Jearim, and the border went out on the west, and went out to the well of waters at Nephtoah. And the border came down to the end of the mountain that lieth before the valley of the son of Hinnom, and which is in the valley of the giants on the north, and descended to the valley of Hinnom, to the side of Jebusai on the south, and descended to En-Rogel, and was drawn from the north, and went forth to En-Shemesh, and went forth toward Geliloth, which is over against the going up of Adumim, and descended to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben, and passed along toward the side over against Arabah northward, and went down unto Arabah. And the border passed along to the side of Beth Hoplah northward, and the outgoings of the border were at the north bay of the Salt Sea, at the south end of Jordan. This was the south coast. And Jordan was the border of it on the east side. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, by the coast thereof round about, according to their families. Now the cities of the tribe of the children of Benjamin, according to their families, were Jericho, and Beth Hoglah, and the valley of Keziz, and Beth Arabah, and Zemaraim, and Bethel, and Avim, and Para, and Ophrah, and Sephar, Haamoni, and Ophni, and Gaba, 12 cities with their villages. Gibeon, and Ramah, and Beeroth, and Mizpah, and Shephirah, and Moza, and Rechem, and Irpeel, and Taralah, and Zelah, Eleph, and Jebusai, which is Jerusalem, Gibeath, and Kirjath, 14 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the children of Benjamin according to their families.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. So let's go back to 14. And did anybody take notes today?
I got one, but not in 14.
I'm looking at Gwen for 14, chapter 14, Gwen. The first one, Gwen. Okay, go ahead, Landon. What do you got?
Oh, no. I was, you just asked if somebody took notes. Mine's in 15.
Oh. Okay.
I had one thing I think that I noticed was it looks like it looks like it took them 5 years or they were 5 years into this. Is that correct? Because he said he was 40 years old.
You're muted, Gwen.
He was 40 years old when Moses told him he could have the land he stand on, and he said he's now 40 and 5, or 4 and 5.
Four
So
score,
we're doing this
four
for
score is
5
80, isn't it? 85.
Huh?
Yeah, my translation.
Oh,
is
84. So 45 years?
They did so 45 years they've
They
been.
were, okay. Well, they were wandering.
I thought it was 40 to 45. My bad.
So
I thought the same thing too.
He said there was
40 years old was I when Moses, the servant, so verse 7. And then,
Can I read
So
my
he was
translation?
40 years old when Moses told him he could have it, and now he's 85 years old. Is that right?
no, well, here it says, like in verse 7, it says 40. And then in verse 10, it says, I am this day 85 years.
The score is 20 years, though.
So mine says 45 years since the time that the Lord spoke his word to Moses.
Okay,
So he'd be 85 years. old.
85. Okay.
So one score is 20 years?
Yes, ma'am.
His score is 20. Yeah. I didn't catch that.
Neither did I.
Yay.
I found in 13 it was interesting that Joshua has within his authority to bless and give territory
Yeah.
to Caleb, but also too, he gave him a mountain, and a mountain is symbolic of authority and a kingdom
Oh,
as well.
Well, and isn't that where the Anakim was living?
Yeah.
So he was taking over the kingdom of the Anakim.
That's the long necks, right? Isn't that what it translates to? Or am I thinking of a different sect of
No,
giants?
I think that's correct. The long necks. You know, like when you see a car wreck the other direction, you long neck it.
Yeah.
We call that
Sometimes.
something else here.
Oh, pay attention to the road, you idiot.
We call those looky-loos here.
Looky-loos or rubberneckers?
Rubberneckers, looky-loos.
No, we like long neckers.
They have, in Europe, they they set up barriers to stop that.
Well,
They'll come in and
so, okay.
barrier it. Anyway,
I was in my bubble. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
Okay, so if I'm not understanding this correctly, like verse 14 and verse 15, Hebron is, okay, Joshua, verse 13, blessed him and gave unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron, therefore, became the inheritance. Is Hebron is Jephunneh or Jephunneh, Hebron, is that a location? Because it says the son, Joshua blessed him and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh, Hebron for, oh, there needs to be a comma there.
So,
Okay,
in other words, Caleb, Jephunneh's son, right?
gave
Like
Hebron
Joshua.
for inheritance, because then it says Hebron therefore became an right?
Right? That's who he is. He's the son of. He's Ibn Jephunneh.
Yes, but the one I'm questioning is that Hebron for an inheritance. So Hebron is a location,
Yeah.
but then in verse 14 it says Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, up to this day, for he wholly followed. Okay, wait, who did? Caleb did, or Hebron therefore became the Hebron of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, up unto this day, because he fully followed. Okay. The name. Okay.
Hmm.
The name, okay, well, the name of Hebron before was Kirjatharba, which Araba was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from war.
And
I'm
that's
sure it's a lot more simple than it's saying, I'm sure.
Yeah, it says Kiriath Arba, city of four, an older name of Hebron. Hebron, however you pronounce it.
Right.
okay. What about 15?
So,
Not a big
hey,
deal.
real quick on 14.
Yep.
And D, maybe I misunderstood what you were trying to say earlier. This was 5 years after they entered the land.
Right.
Okay, so I still was on the 5 years, but I had the 40.
Yeah. So when Caleb went to Joshua and talked to him, he was saying he
45 years.
first spied on the land, and he gave a
Gotcha.
good report, the others did not. And so I was looking at it, I was like, what, 45 years? But yeah, so 5 years after they entered the land.
Gotcha.
45 years after all the promises were given to Moses.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we were, yeah, but I missed the 40, I missed the extra 40 years there, Colby.
Okay.
You had your math right. It's just it was all I was going back and reading through that. I was like, something's not lining up, and then that makes sense now.
Because to line that all up, to walk that land, right? Like it took what's his pickle to walk from Babylon to Jerusalem. It took him a month to get there. You know, so to walk all those borders and find out where those border lines are, that's going to take a long time to do that. Really long time. Who did that? Holy granola bars. That's
When you were saying that, Glenn, I was thinking about, with the greater Exodus, if there's people in California and they got to go, are they going to have to go all the way across the United States and then across the land, and then that's, maybe they'll go the other way. Maybe all the lands will be pushed back together and they can go the other way. That's a trek.
It'll be further that way.
Yeah, that's a trek, regardless.
Okay, 15.
okay. Yeah.
This is the physical boundaries description of each tribe's land and who got what. So that is, it's very much like if you hunt and it describes the zones that you hunt in, it gives physical boundaries like this. So
Like the road that's in front of our house,
Mhm.
on the road that's this side where we live, we can use crossbow, and we can use shotgun and short range 22. But just on the other side of the road, you can use whatever rifle. So it's like, well, I'm standing here on this side. You can't shoot your rifle across the road that way. You have to shoot it south, west, or east. You can't shoot it north. The boundary is that road that's like 16 feet wide.
Well, just think about North and South Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? How much space between that? Is that even a mile? Like on one side you've got freedom, the other side is like, well, golly, think about Seattle right now. One block.
Don't you guys have a place in the States where a town has a road that, like, as you're driving, if you're driving, I don't know if it's northwest, east, or south, but let's just say it's north and south. If you're driving north, then you're on in this state, but if you're driving south, you're on that state. So literally, like, the post office for this town is on this side of the street. So you're in a different state. Is there somewhere in?
Well, there is one in Texarkana, which is on
They're all
the
over the
southern
place.
border of Arkansas and Texas. And people can, it's a main street that runs in between, runs on the border between Arkansas and Texas. But
Yeah,
the-
like it's the same town.
Yes, the
You can
town.
come into your neighbor's house, but they live in a different state.
Yeah, and you can work on one side and, live on the other, and then you have your property taxes. Some people have their property taxes actually split. And so you can pay taxes in both states. I mean, it's a mess.
There's a town in eastern Arizona that you can only get to through New Mexico.
Wow. So
There's
you
a
got to
golf-
go into New Mexico to get up
Unless you,
to it?
unless you hike it, yeah, you have to drive into New Mexico and then loop back around
there's a
into
golf
Arizona
course,
to get to that town.
somewhere on the southern border that's not in America, but it's not in Mexico because of some bureaucracy. It's
Animal?
when they started working on building fortifying the border, they decided to build the wall back a little bit, and now the golf course is on the other side of it.
Why can't we see you, John?
Is it that important?
He's being
Wow.
the producer stays in the background,
So just
What a humble man you are.
Just a little sidebar. I was reading because I got fascinated with the Anakim. It does mean, it either means long neck or those that wear necklaces, can be translated either way. But there's a lot of literature that says after Joshua drove them out, they mingled with the Philistines, like they sought refuge in the. So anyway, I was just interesting. What was the commandment to Joshua though? What exactly is that? It doesn't mention specifically, but it says it in chapter 13. According to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, he gave to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, a portion among the people of Judah. What specific commandment?
To take the Lego and take the land.
Okay. Simple enough.
Yep, and drive out the inhabitants. Which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So let's go on to 16 then. And who has something for 16?
The only thing I have down in verse 10, goes against what Caleb did. However, they did not drive out the Canaanites who lived in Gezer.
Yep.
Which it seemed like Caleb did his part and most of the rest of them did not.
And that's the only note I took in the whole chapter. But yeah,
I have
Yeah.
one.
okay.
Hang on. Oh,
Well, it's just interesting too that they're there all the way through the time of Yeshua. And you have the Canaanite woman who's begging to have the demon cast out of her daughter. He's like, I'm not sent to anyone but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. She says, hey, even the dogs can gather up the crumbs. And granted it. He said, okay.
Yeah, and I see just throughout, like Caleb was clearly, the first time he entered the land, he came back with a positive report that, hey, we can take this. And based on that, he was granted more land whenever they finally did take it. And then even whenever, go back to chapter 15, when he got his land, it says, and Caleb drove out from there. And then he even offered his daughter for someone who could strike down, strikes Kiriath Sepher and captures it. It seems like he continuously did his part. And from the beginning, he gave the good report. He said we could take it, and then throughout, he just continued to do what he was supposed to do. But the rest of the tribes, I don't know if they just wanted to complain, or they didn't really want to do their part, but they just thought it was just a gift to give to them for free without having to put the work into it. But
it's almost like you've been given a promise, you've been given an inheritance, but it's not like you just walk into the lawyer's office and you just sign your name and then all of a sudden you get to walk into your mansion and drive your, Mercedes. You actually here it is. And now you actually have to work at getting it. So it's almost like you have to work at like a covenant. Like I was thinking of just now, just it's kind of reminding me of Abraham and Abba when they make that covenant, and he splits the Abba does his part, but now Abraham has to do his part. He has to partake in this whole process. It's not just you get to sit there and see what's happening and then just get to eat the fat of the land because someone's given it to you. But it sort of appears to me as like, here's your land, but now you have to go take it. And matching that up with now, like Abba's given us a bunch of stuff, but now we have to go take it. Like he's given us something now. He gave them land portions and boundaries and stuff then, but I think that he's given us something now, and we have to take it actively, constantly until I don't know, I'm just sort of like
I look at that kind of like, I try to teach my daughter all the time to take care of what's hers. So I give her something, I give her a toy, I give her something that she wants. And, if she breaks it, sorry, like you get one of these, like this is yours. Like, I need you to understand that just because it was given to you doesn't mean you can just neglect it and not take care of it. And I think that's kind of the same context here is, God's like, this is your land, but you have to take care of it. In order to prosper in this land that should be a prosperous land, you have to get rid of the imperfections. You have to get rid of the people who are going to, go against you and go against me throughout the rest of this, next millennium. Like you have to do your part. And we see the ramifications of people them not doing their part
and turning them into slaves. Like that makes me think about the compromises that we make. Like the little compromise that I make. I won't say we, but I mean whatever. But you think, okay, well that would be useful. They would be useful. They can work my garden. They can work my field. They can clean my house. They can do that stuff. Maybe I won't fire them. Maybe I won't, tell them to leave. Maybe I'll just use them and benefit off. Like Abba wants to bless you. Like later, I won't jump. Oh, I almost jumped ahead. But like he wants you to do it on a clean slate, which is something that's just happened today for me personally with me and my girls. But he wants to do it without any other influences that you think might be a benefit to you, because really in the long run, it's going to bring you heaviness. It's going to bring you sadness and sickness and headaches and then the residual effect of it, right? Like planting those seeds in your family, keeping those humans there and keeping them a part of your family. And all of a sudden, why is brother so-and-so marrying that Canaanite woman over there or.
Well, and I look at it from a spiritual thing, as well as, from a physical thing, but it's also spiritual because you look at the giants. They look at the giants and they just saw terror. And I think so many times we see as Abba is trying to teach us to not doubt and to not have fear. Sometimes we look at these huge insurmountable obstacles and we're just terrified because we're just like, I don't know how this is going to happen. And he's doing that with me here in this last I don't know, almost a year of I look at things on how I can resolve them myself. I've done that my whole life because I'm very independent. In that he uses that in a way, but at some point you have to get to the point of where you're like going, this is out of my control. And then it becomes faith, then it becomes prayer. And our action is that prayer. And that action for me is the resting of this is out of my control. I don't know how this is going to happen. I can't fix it. So I am going to turn this over. And then the faith comes through the prayer. And the action becomes the prayer. And then you have to that's driving out that doubt and that double-mindedness through prayer and through the trust that he tells you in his word, trust me, you're more important than the sparrows, and through the lilies of the field, you're more valuable than that. And so I can see that from that perspective.
Well,
and I think we all have that.
Like Gwen was originally saying, though, you have that factor of here it is, and then something else intimidates you, like you're saying now about the size of the giants. And I had a friend who was behind on his property taxes because you never own your property. You never truly own your property. Quit paying your taxes, and they'll find that out. Anyways, they auctioned off his property while he was living in it. All right, and he had an acre or something with a trailer on it. And the person that bought his property, or that paid off his taxes, went to go inspect his new property and was greeted by a crazy Vietnam vet with a shotgun saying, "Hey, take my property." And at that point, are you going to go take your land? You know? So I can see the intimidation factor. And for those of you that are curious, he eventually worked it out and paid the guy back his taxes and got back in good graces of the government.
I get it too.
Anyways.
That's something I've been struggling with as of late. A situation happened to me where I felt, like when I let my imagination run with the Father, I think about all the possibilities, the greater things that we can go on to do. I have that faith in God. But about 2 weeks ago, something happened that left me very vulnerable. Somebody walked into the wrong house, but that planted the seed because it was at 1 o'clock in the morning of my vulnerability, and I was focusing on myself. Thank God it was an accident, but I lived in complete fear because of that experience. And I was really thinking about how I'm more like the Israelites complaining in the wilderness than I realized, because of how terrified that I am of what I was focusing on myself. What can I do if someone were to come in, if someone were to try and harm me? I'm a lot smaller than I used to be. Just all the whispers of weakness and all that, and that I was kind of taking it away from focusing on allowing God to just surround my life, and that I was terrified because in the physical sense, I'm the most vulnerable while you're sleeping. So I don't know. It's something I've been struggling with, and I feel like I'm getting through it. But I was in absolute terror for like 2 weeks. Didn't know that about myself. Anyway.
And that I understand, because I was, I trained so long to distrust people and to constantly analyze people for combat if I had to get into combat, to save myself or a family member or a loved one or a third party or whatever. And that boils up a lot. And I've just gotten to the point where I have to pray every time it happens. I say, Abba, take that spirit from me. And, that's all you can do, because you have to start, or at least I have to start really trying to look through our Savior's eyes at what these other people are doing and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still see people that are evil, and I hold on to that. Okay, if this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do. But it's not like it was where everybody, there's a saying from, I think, some Marine general that said, have a plan to kill everybody you meet, or something like that.
Right.
Well, and two, I think the struggles are different for each of us. Whereas some people, it's easier for them to just trust because they learned that earlier on. I tend to be why I think Abba's bringing me through this is because of my super independence, and if I don't like this or that, I'll just go get it. If I don't like this job, I'll just go get another one, and not being appreciative of the one that I got, the one that I had. And a lot of it is, you offend me, well, I'm just going to come after you. I'll get an attorney, I'll blah, 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 blah. So I'm having to learn the flip side of fighting. I can fight for my rights and for what I'm supposed to have, but I'm not letting Abba fight it. And so I'm having to learn to do that. And I think some people, it's the opposite. You know, they may be very passive and maybe trust, but then at some point they've got to step out and do things. Whereas I'll step out and do things, and then I'll end up getting my toes stepped on because I'm not doing it I'm not doing it under his authority. I'm doing it in what I think is right.
Yep.
So yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right. Anything else from 16? Anybody? Okay, let's go to 17. 17. I just have one note there, but not until verse 11. So if you got anything before that, let me hear it.
I got 14, but go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, just Megiddo. And that is where we get the word from the Greek Armageddon, which means the hill of Megiddo. So it's a very, very real end-time location right there. The hill of Megiddo or the valley of Megiddo, depends on, I guess, where the accent is.
The most expensive grave sites in the world.
Well, they're free. Your family, you don't need grave insurance. What do they sell? Funeral insurance. Hell, will your family pay $10,000 in the case of your death?
Yeah, but I saw a documentary on the graves around Israel, and people pay the most to be buried there so that they can be the first to they can be on the spot when they rise up. I think that's stupid religion.
Oh, I see. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Verse kind of like what, I can't remember if it was Colby or Landon that mentioned it, but verse 12, then the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in the land. And then we have, yet, verse 13, it came to pass when the children of Israel were waxen strong. So then now they're not at a point of weakness. Now they're strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute, but did not utterly drive them out. So when they were weak, they didn't drive them out.
Yeah.
And when they were strong, they didn't drive them out. So it's almost like that idea, like when we are weak, he can show himself strong. Like in our weakness, he is like, it has to be not that we are all victorious, kind of like the idea of, like the 30 people defeating the 1,000 people, or the 300 defeating, an exponential amount of people. But it was never about numbers. It's never about the giants, right? Like as Dee's saying, like we're looking at the wrong thing. So even when we're strong, if we're not going to do it when we're weak, why are we waiting till we get strong to make these decisions? Because then we're trusting in our own abilities, sort of like what Dee is saying. Like I move out of my own strength, which isn't a bad thing, but maybe Abba wants you to move out of, not out of your weakness or your strength. He just wants you to move when he says to move. He wants
That's
you to
exactly
act
what
when he
it
says
is.
to act, whether you're strong or weak.
Yep. Because it's all in him anyways.
How often do you think Samson worked out? Probably never.
Yeah, it's about obedience, which is why I think Caleb was blessed. But then you can go down and you take this even a step further in verse 14. You go to the next verse, and Joseph's complaining about his inheritance, and he says he's a numerous people. So he's got a ton of people. It's not a numbers thing.
Yeah.
And then Joshua says to him, if you're numerous people, go by yourself, clear the ground yourself. If you don't want to go fight the people, then at least clear the trees. And that there's just, if it's not something, it's not one thing, it's another thing that they're going to find a way to complain about. And I think that's why I go back to Caleb. from the beginning said, you know what, God said we could take this land. I agree, we can take the land. So Caleb was blessed. Then he took his land.
Yep. And that too, Colby, that you hit right on the nail right on the head with. I think that's how a lot of us look at our lives. Yeah, and all of a sudden things seem overwhelming. Do something, right? Do something. Don't let it weigh you down. I mean, there's something, just some little small victory.
Yeah.
That you get that task out of the way and it says, oh, well, that actually wasn't that hard.
Yep.
And then do the next one and the next one and the next one.
I was thinking about, how when they were talking about before they got into the land, and Abba says, I know that when you get in there in the land, you're going to screw it up. My words, not actual scripture, but paraphrased, of course. But basically, I know that when you get there, you're going to fall away and you're going to follow other gods and you're going to do all this stuff. But look where it starts, right? Like they're not following other gods per se. Like we don't know how much time in between. It's been 45 years, whatever. But where it starts is not possessing the inheritance properly. It doesn't start with they cross over and they're like, sweet, let's go and follow their gods and their women and their men and whatever. It starts by not possessing their inheritance. And then, so it's almost like Abba's goodness and faithfulness is just almost way too simple to comprehend. Almost like Yeshua's free gift. You just got to come to me and I'll forgive your sins. And now you can go through me to Abba, and now you can have that restored relationship just like that. Like, yeah, it's work. Yeah, after you say, forgive me, and I turn from my ways, then it's work. Just like I give you forgiveness, I give you freedom, I give you healing, I give you all this stuff, but it's work to maintain it. It's work to inhabit that concept, just like crossing the river. Like it starts with embracing your inheritance, embracing your forgiveness, embracing your freedom, and then keeping and maintaining it and protecting it and guarding it. Oh, that reminds me of my conversation I had this morning with the girls about how like I was talking about these little things that we were letting in our lives. Me feeling, I repented to my kids this morning. Like I repented to them and to Abba, but I repented to them and just said, I'm really, really sorry. Like I'm the teacher and I'm leading you. And I've led you into this compromise, this like inhabiting the land, but not getting rid of the Canaanites, inhabiting this holiness that we're this set apartness, but I'm compromising by fast forwarding movies. I'm just using movies as an example, but that is like, I'd say 85% of our problem in this house. We love Abba. We pray, we sing, we read, we Bible study, we do all this stuff. But the thing that is our thing, like they're not getting rid of, we're not getting rid of this stuff. It's not supposed to be in the land as we are supposed to live here. This
And
stuff
that's the same way with the people too, in that, I was kind of correlating that with how we are now, because we kind of have this thing where, well, when I become big and successful, then those people that have treated me like dirt, I'm going to make them work for me. When we just shouldn't have them in our life, because we
shouldn't have them there because
yeah.
It leads you. This is where I was thinking about, like, it didn't start with them running after idols. It didn't start, like, we're not running after idols. It didn't start there. But the idea of when we were talking about Adam and Eve guarding the garden, like guard my commandments, not just keep them, but guard them. Like instead of keep, I like the word guard because it has a couple different words for that same word, but my favorite is guard. Guard the garden, guard his commandments and his precepts, guard your body, guard your mind, guard yourself. As you go into the land, how you guard yourself is get rid of the junk. Make sure you don't let anything come in. And so the process this morning was me turning from my sin, turning from my weakness, turning from these things that I've compromised from, repenting to Abba, repenting to my children, and then, going through that process. And then instantly my house, it was like a fire. I woke up and my house felt clean, but then as it felt clean, I felt convicted in a deeper sense, which is beautiful. And then as soon as we repented and we decided to clean it out, delete all the apps, delete all the programs, me and my girls did that this morning. And instantly his faithfulness spread through the house like a fire. Like it felt like an igniting, like it felt clean before. So he cleaned you out. So he's giving you the inheritance. Now you need to do something with that cleanness. Now you need to do something with that promise. Act on it. And so but it was like he was right there. He wasn't even that far away. As soon as we did that, the whole house, me and the girls and everything, our skin, or like the lightness on the girls are always so in the morning on Shabbat, they want to stay in their jamas and they want to watch their couple videos. And, it's Shabbat, Mom, I don't want to make my bed. I'm like, make your bed. It was a different thing. It was a completely different thing. So now we have to keep our inheritance. We have to keep the stuff out. We have to work at it. Anyway, sorry. I'm just a little bit vibing still off of that, but tying this all into, I don't want to fall into the fact that eventually later on my children are going to marry a bunch of Canaanites or Jebusites or Hittites or whatever, because I'm not keeping the land clean, keeping the land clean. I don't want my children in the future to, anyway.
Chapter 18 of Joshua.
Thank you for listening.
So now we got the whole congregation of Israel that gathers together and set up the tabernacle. And where was this? At Jerusalem? Oh, Shiloh. Huh.
What a coinky dinky. Hey there, Dee.
So, Shiloh means what again? Someone just looked it up, I'm sure.
It means calm, the peace of Yahuwah.
The calm, the peace of Yahuwah.
And if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, it means peace.
And so this is where they put up his tent with his altars, or altar. And this is the place where all Israel is to gather 3 times a year. This is the place where all those laws that said, when you come into the land, at the place where I tell you. Pretty amazing.
Amen. So we don't have to say shalom anymore. We can just say Shiloh.
And then everyone's going to say, why do you keep bringing up the bloodiest battle of the U.S. Civil War?
And
Really? I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that. Really?
It's not the same Shiloh. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
It wasn't. I don't think it was the bloodiest. I think it was the bloodiest one-day battle or something like that. And Lynn said she might not be back.
Yeah.
She told me she had found the exact chapters in verses in Jasher that corresponded with what we read in Joshua.
Oh.
And two of the verses are exactly identical. Yep. So she's going through some family stuff. So pray for David. All right, who else has something from 18? Anybody?
These past two studies, it's one you really got to look up all the names to really get perspective. It's
It is.
I mean,
It's almost all names, both of these studies.
but
I just find it.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I imagine whenever you get the full perspective of like where the little pings are on the map and all that, and what it looks like and the territory, it's there's some intense chapters, but just reading it on the surface level, it's hard to make many notes. But
That's interesting. Well, it's not a huge land over there either, though, because if you look at the skinny part of the nation, the UN nation Israel, from when its boundaries were laid out in 1948, that skinny part is as wide as the Tucson Valley where I live. It's like 28 miles.
I'd have to Google Tucson.
That's a heavy one-day walk, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But
So
isn't what's listed in 15? I mean, I find it like you were doing land, and I find it incredibly detailed. You know, as far as where the boundaries are. But this is only for 4 tribes.
Right.
And so the other 9 had not marked off their boundaries yet, right?
So who's reading next time?
I just Googled.
I'm gonna just look ahead just a minute.
I started saying, I'm going to choose a chapter that doesn't have all the names.
Well, Lynn did an excellent job.
You did a very good job.
He did an excellent job. Holy granola bars. Well, y'all did, but she did it better. I don't know.
Yeah, more verses.
I wouldn't have been able to say all those names fluidly like she. Some people can pronounce weirdness really well. I do weirdness really well, but I don't pronounce weirdness really well.
The Bible I have actually has the pronunciation marks in it, but it doesn't.
Does
make
it?
It doesn't make it any easier.
Oh.
I get it, Joanne.
So I just Googled. I just picked one. I looked down and Ophni. It's in verse 23. And like the first thing that popped up, it says the city of Benjamin, so important as to be second only to Jerusalem. It still survives in modern Japhna, 23 miles northwest of Bethel. And I mean, so it's there. Like it's just kind of, it's one of those ones you could do a study of probably like 2 or 3 verses at a time.
Maybe we'll make an extra study series on that. Who has a good map?
I think you do. I think you're the king of the maps.
Huh?
Remember I asked a while back, I don't know if any of you guys in chat or you guys, a good flat earth map like that I can buy so that I can put it up on my wall.
You still here, JJ?
Is it JJ that knows?
I think he found one somewhere.
Because I want to use it. Because I have like a really good, well, it's not really good actually. Like, I mean, I got a map for learning to teach my kids and stuff, like locations, geography and stuff. Yes, see, I remember asking you, Matt, like a million years ago, because you had one in your house behind you, right?
There's an app you can get. I forget the guy's name. He was on. I forget the channel. The Kingdom in Context, but there's a guy that did an app that you can download and it does that map.
Well, you know what's really interesting? If you look at those flat Earth maps, you can see how the continents separate.
Yep.
And you can see they still fit together.
Pretty good.
They still fit together very, very well.
Saul would later be buried in Zela. It's a bunch of history. I'm going through Googling names.
See, I don't believe that it took the millions of years that they say, the hundreds of millions of years. If you just look up Dr. Brown's theory of Dr. Brown's hydroplate theory, and then in conjunction with that, look up the Mount St. Helens disaster and what has happened there in the past 40 years since then.
Amazon?
I mean, it happened. I mean,
Never thought.
that mountain went in minutes.
It didn't even take minutes. It was seconds.
Oh, yeah.
It just went kabloom.
And then it's already, like you were saying, it's already built back up 40 years.
Yeah. Well, they also got, bless you, that they also have an area, a new canyon carved out of all that ash and rock and stuff and mud, a new canyon that's a 40th the size of the Grand Canyon in 4 decades. So you can't tell me it took hundreds of millions of years
No.
to make the Grand Canyon or any other geological feature on the face of Earth.
Well, and I watched something, and I can't find it anymore. It's about how if water is released really, really fast at a high pressure, like say a dam breaks, the cativation, I think it's called cativation, where the water is hitting a certain rock area, it'll just decimate it in like minutes. And so they were applying that to the Grand Canyon, in that if water was released at high pressure, it could have carved out the Grand Canyon.
Well, look what they're using. Well, they were talking about Hopi Lake, and it's funny because everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Hopi Lake, yeah, that probably created the Grand Canyon," until somebody says, "See, that proves creation." And then, no, Hopi Lake is a big farce. Blah 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 blah. Liars.
At the top of the canyon looks carved. It looks no different than a rock quarry. It's not watermarked, except maybe a little bit of like, I mean, it doesn't rain there, but some of them you have 90 degrees. I've looked into that a lot because the area you can't go into around Isis Temple or
Everything's named after Egypt.
right. There's the things they're at 90-degree angles. You have corners, and water just doesn't do that. And in some areas, looks like there's giant gears when they roll through a quarry. I mean, it looks like, and it's almost identical with a slight amount of like rain erosion. I mean, the bottom is different, but that canyon looks carved to me. It looks mechanically carved. But that might be crazy though.
But look at look at what some of the best industrial machines you have now are water jets.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll cut everything. And that's with man's piddly knowledge.
Okay, I have to go now.
Thank you for reading, Gwen. We appreciate your presence here. Have fun.
I believe you, John, if I see you.
Uh-huh. Are we done studying?
No, you guys don't have to stop. I don't mean to interrupt. My humans are waiting for me.
Oh.
Your miniature humans.
My miniature humans.
With your miniature review?
When you say it
I
like
love you guys. Be blessed in Yeshua. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Rest.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
And so I was going to share when you were talking about Shiloh.
Yes.
Some people know that I lost my dog about 3 weeks ago, and broke my heart. And I was like, the only way I'm going to get another animal is if it shows up at my doorstep. Be careful what you say.
Oh.
She literally showed up. She's a farm cat, a barn cat, and she hitched a ride in the wheel well of my neighbor's truck in the axle. And I was outside praying and reading my Bible, and I kept hearing this meow, meow. And I'd get up and go look. And finally, she came out from the axle. Well, she's only 4 weeks old, so she had to go back to mom. And I came home Thursday, and my neighbor was holding her, and she said, "You got to take her, or she's going to get killed," because she and her sister keep hitching rides in the motors and everything. So she's here. Not real sure what I'm going to do with her, but she's here.
She's a rambling cat. She's ready to travel.
She was a traveling cat.
Just don't put her in a cat carrier on top of your car.
I've got a roof rack. I could strap it down. Anyway, so that was what her name is Shiloh. That was what we wanted.
That's awesome.
When you started meowing, you made Chop dream a cat because he started making noise over there.
Meow, 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 meow.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Ren. It's hard putting dogs down.
Oh. Did Lynn have to do that?
Ren Tin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Velcro was only 10 and he had a heart murmur and it just got worse and it was not going to be good for him. So,
Right. No,
Yep.
and that it's really hard to do, But where my first dog, she got hit by a car and it broke her back, so pretty much didn't have a choice. Then a few dogs later, my pit bull, he just collapsed at like 13 years old. Blood started frothing out his nose. I said, "Oh man, that's definitely not good."
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, yeah, Velcro was to the point of where he would eventually, the fluid would have built up in his lungs and he would have drowned. And I couldn't,
Right.
suffocated. And I couldn't do that. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to have to go through that. And, he couldn't tell me, but he didn't want to leave. Anyway, it's a long story. Sorry.
cool. All right, should we let everybody go?
Or hold him hostage.
Is everybody ready? We'll let you go, unless you're contained within a small 6-block radius of Seattle.
Oh, God. You did not go there.
They built the wall.
So everybody, thank you very much for reading. Dee and Lynn and Landon and Colby and Ashley and Joanne, thank you very much. We appreciate it and love you all. I'm so glad you came to study with us. And I think tomorrow, part 4 of The Life of Repentance will be up. So keep your eyes open for that. And that's being recorded and then put up. But still watch it. I think there's good information in there. Something that's not addressed by anybody. So if you have corrections on it, let me know. Anyways, everybody, love you all. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, bros.